They're still griping about not having signal messages. Blake Lively and her legal team are saying that this is the 4th time that they've received a modified privilege log, and it still fails. To begin, the third amended signal privilege log fails to identify the sender or recipients for each. What? That aside, the overwhelming majority of documents identified on this law are not privileged at this point. She's already prejudiced by having been deprived. You guys, she doesn't have anything. They are desperate. I love all these blanks they're putting in here. They should be ordered to produce all the blank. On the contrary, these entries simply concern blank, not work product. Little girl attorney said we should pay attention to the footnotes. Final effort to avoid motion practice. Ms. Lively requests a Wayfarer and all documents lacking attorney preference. They refused. They should be ordered to produce the blank that was attached to signal communications. Nudes? Memes? What could it be? I think this is supposed to be Brian Friedman. A media campaign is not a litigation strategy. Not only should they produce them all, but they should be produced for in-camera review. Honestly, at this point, he needs to hold their hands through this, because it sounds like after 4 attempts, they don't have any evidence to support their claims. To begin, despite 4 opportunities to cure, they still fail to describe the communications at issue with sufficient particularity. 4 entries apparently concern a blankety blank. However, it's unclear whether the predominant purpose of this blankety blank was to obtain or render legal advice. Are all blankety blanks, the substance of which is unclear from the privilege log. Footnote, these communications are dated blankety blank. I think they were wanting this to be a big heavy hitter, but honestly, it's not hitting with me. It says, this only further underscored by the fact that the court's insistence the Wayfarer defendants re-reviewed the 4,600 plus signal communications at issue. Yeah, there was 4,600 because there was copies. And so on, they produced another 152 such communications, none of which predated December 20th. Well, that's because before December 20th, they were literally on auto-delete, girl. That was a letter from Ezra. Now we get a letter from Bruno. Or this is like the supporting whatever. He says they produced a second amended categorical privilege log, met and conferred. During the conferral, I explained how the Wayfarer's privilege log still was deficient because they didn't have sufficient information. They failed to properly identify and log any attachments. With respect, the counsel explained that the privilege must be determined on a document-by-document basis and that merely attaching a document to the underlying email. Man, I don't even... But, okay, so that was October 5th. That was like 2 weeks ago. What have they been doing for 2 weeks?